It's been 55 years since Spain last won the Eurovision Song Contest. They have one of the largest and most passionate audiences in all of Europe. And as such, it's fair to say that they're getting pretty impatient. Going into the 2020s, the country's record at Eurovision was not what it used to be. Time after time, they found themselves struggling to get out of the bottom 5. Some were able to break out of that pattern and reach places as high as 10th, but it never lasted. And despite some others being quite popular and inspiring hope for change, it was usually the same old story. After starting off the decade like this,
another 0 points.
Something needed to change. Enter Benidorm Fest, a revamped national selection that launched in 2022 with the goal of getting Spain back in the game for good. The Valencian city of Benidorm was chosen to pay tribute to the original Benidorm International Song Festival, which ran from 1959 to 2006. As we count down to the 2024 edition, today we're taking a look at what Radio Televisión Española has been able to achieve in its first 2 years, and what that could mean about the festival's future. Now, to shed some light on the success of the festival, I reached out to some friends, Fran and Luis, who are both journalists from Spain, and I started by asking them how the festival has been received by the public so far.
I think that the general idea of Benidorm Fest now is very positive because we have previous national selections that they didn't have good quality. But now we have a national selection that is not only a national selection for Eurovision, it's also a music festival. And I think that this is positive because we have increased the importance of Eurovision and the importance of the music here in Spain.
All national selections ultimately serve these two purposes, to promote local talent and to choose the entry for Eurovision. They don't all go about it in the same way, and they're not always successful in both areas, but without factoring in the eventual results, if a selection is raising the profile of both Eurovision and the local music scene, then it's succeeding in some way. And it seems like the broadcaster is committed to keeping that going.
There's a lot of radio stations here in Spain promoting the Benidorm Fest since the day one. Not waiting into the final of the pre-selection to start promoting. Right now, we are knowing the songs in Eurofan sphere, you know. Then in Benidorm Fest, the locals, all the people without any type of union with Eurovision will be knowing the songs. And then after Benidorm Fest, all those songs probably come to the charts. It's the main way to have the success, not only of the songs, also the success of the contest.
So what can we say about success at the contest so far? Well, between the first two Benidorm Fest winners that went on to represent Spain at Eurovision, the biggest success was that of Chanel. She achieved Spain's best result in nearly 30 years, finishing in third with a high production performance of her song Slow-Mo. The festival's second winner was Blanca Paloma, who brought a daring experimental flamenco song called Eyaya. Despite hopes that she would follow up with another high placement, she ended up more in the middle of the pack in 17th place. And it was mostly thanks to the national juries for getting that far, because with the public, it came dead last.
5 points.
I think about that every day of my life. But, antes de Eurovisión teníamos una gran expectativa con EAEA. Era una propuesta muy diferente a lo que habíamos enviado anteriormente a Eurovisión. Entonces pensábamos que iba a tener un buen recorrido la canción y la propuesta. Después del festival sí que es cierto que estamos un poco decepcionados, no con la propuesta en sí, pero sí que estamos decepcionados evidentemente con cómo lo ha recibido Europa, ¿no? Entonces, luces y sombras.
I think the main problem is there's a lot of European people who didn't understand Blanca Paloma's concept. And It's difficult because we spend a lot of time listening EAEA in every pre-party. Blanca give us a different point of view of the staging, a different point of view of the song. And we fell in love with Blanca and with the song. But at the end, for a man of Estonia who has only one opportunity to hear it. It was like I didn't understand at all, and finally I didn't vote, and that was the problem.
It's also fair to say that it's not just Spanish fans that feel this way. Of all the songs that fell short of expectations in 2023, Spain is mentioned frequently. And it's mostly with respect to how the song was received by the public, but also with respect to the juries. A lot of people feel that Blanca's vocal performance was superior, and that the song offered a lot of originality that was not properly recognized. Ultimately, it seems that the verdict is that the song was simply not the most accessible, but a lot of people still feel that it was worthy of praise. It was visually engaging, musically bold, and something that is true to the country's culture. And if you ask me, that's what every country in Eurovision should be aiming for, regardless of how many points you end up with. Now, with respect to commercial success, we also see some notable differences between the first and second edition. In 2022, 5 songs landed in the top 100 singles charts in Spain. The runner-up Ay Mama by Rigoberta Bandini reached the #1 spot right after the final and remained on the charts for a total of 39 weeks. The winning song Slow Mo initially had a shorter life on the singles chart, entering at number 13 and dropping out after a few weeks. But it rebounded in May around the Eurovision performance and eventually became the #1 single in Spain as well. Now, this is quite a contrast to 2023. Only one song landed on the charts, and it wasn't Ayaya, but rather Noche Entera by Vico, which finished 3rd in the festival and peaked at number 5. Another difference that we see between the first 2 editions is in viewership. The final of 2022 saw just under 3 million viewers, whereas for 2023 it was barely 2 million. And so I asked Luis what he thought could have been the reason for the potential drop in interest.
I think the first edition has 2 main protagonists. First, Tachueiras has an amazing community of Galicia. A lot of Galician people support them. And then Rigoberta Bandini. I think it's like the first pop woman of our music. And it was like, wow, I think it's an anthem in the Spanish music. And there was a lot of pop lovers watching Benidorm Fest only for them, not Eurofans. Or not people who love Eurovision. The second year, we didn't have a lot of top chart songs, but we have the main top chart song in Spanish charts this year, Noche Entera. It was like a banger. RTV are promoting in their commercials at the same time the Blanca Paloma's victory and then the Vico song and their achievements. The main objective is have 1 year with the same song doing an amazing result in charts and amazing result in Eurovision too.
As much as 2023 didn't produce as many hits as 2022, and it didn't deliver the same kind of amazing result at Eurovision, Blanca Paloma's 17th place is still Spain's 3rd best result in the last 10 editions, and Noche Entera is still charting a year after its debut. But this here is the perfect example of what the challenge is for every country, finding that one song that is the perfect blend between appealing to the locals and also having broader appeal beyond its own borders. Now, does the festival need to be choosing that one song that fits both criteria every year in order to be successful? I would say no, because very few countries are able to have that kind of success year in and year out. Of course, Spanish fans have made it very clear that sometime soon they want to win. And getting that one song would probably be the best way to do that. But so long as domestic interest is high and the results at Eurovision are overall better, then RTVE is succeeding at what it set out to do. When Benidorm Fest was launched, it was agreed that it would be held for at least 4 editions, which means that its future is only guaranteed until next year. Since then, the government of Valencia, which is financing the festival, has shifted from a left-wing to a right-wing government. And so this has caused people to be concerned about whether or not the festival will continue. Despite this, Luis says that interest is quite high on both sides of the political spectrum to keep the festival going, not only because of how it serves the music scene, but also because of how it attracts tourism to the city.
Festival de Benidorm, the original one, was the festival of Spanish music for a lot of years in the dictatorship era, and they want to reverse that idea, but trying to win Eurovision. Benidorm in February is only a place for a lot of grandfathers and grandmothers having fun. And now, that week, Benidorm Fest is like the capital of Eurovision. And I think there's a lot of possibility of getting a long way with Benidorm Fest, but also we have to get great results. because if we stay 4, 5, 6 years getting a bottom, I think that it's difficult. But I think if we get great results and then there's a lot of money in Benidorm, there's no problem to continue whatever they do.
There's also a strong interest in following the example of Sanremo in Italy, which was the inspiration behind both Eurovision and the original Benidorm International Song Festival. And with respect to modern times, it's also the perfect example of a country that's able to get success in both of those areas, getting commercial success and a good score at Eurovision. Further to that, Fran believes that it could be beneficial to Benidorm if they follow the method of how the artist is actually selected, which is that the winner of the festival gets first refusal, rather than being directly selected to go to Eurovision with their participating song.
I think that if the final prize that you could decide if you want to go or not, we will receive more artists, more famous artists, because maybe I'm more interested in only participate because more people can hear my music. But maybe my interest is not going to Eurovision, because I don't want to spend a lot of time focusing only in one song.
Of course, a change like this would go against one of the main objectives of the festival, which is to get better results at Eurovision. And giving the artist first refusal might complicate the voting if people are unsure if the song that they like most and want to vote for will actually go ahead to Eurovision. But it is still an interesting idea, especially if it would make the festival more independent and attract more artists like Fran would like to see. For the time being, it is looking optimistic that the festival will continue beyond its original run. But before we get ahead of ourselves, it's 2024, we have a new crop of songs and artists to look forward to, and in the next video we're going to be taking a look at some of them and discussing which ones are standing out based on the studio versions. Fran and Luis will also be back with me to talk about the songs and artists in detail. I hope that you check that out, and if you like this video, I hope that you subscribe to the channel so that we can chat a bit more. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on Benidorm Fest so far. Do you think it's working? Are there any changes that you'd like to see? I'd love to know from you. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Hasta pronto.